is Frederick Marshall Fox. I was born in White Plains, New York, 1938. I served in the Navy from 1960 to 1965 on active duty. I was in the Vietnam War on the USS Ticonderoga during the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And then I served 3 years in the reserves and was recalled for the Pueblo crisis. And I flew for the airlines for 33 years with American Airlines. Retired at age 60, flew as flight engineer for a cargo company, and now I'm enjoying retirement. I retired as a lieutenant. My rank was a lieutenant. And I was a nuclear weapons delivery pilot, so I had top secret clearance. Well, as far as the Navy goes, I was Code 4 Pubs, which was Confidential Publications and Communications Officer. There was a publication called JANAP 146 Echo, which had a section which says that you will not reveal any information regarding UFO phenomenon under penalty of $10,000 fine and 10 years in jail. So they were quite adamant about whatever experiences you had, you were not to go public with it without their permission. The only experience that I had in the military with a close encounter of whatever type it was one night. I flew attack planes, the A-4 Skyhawk, and they'd have us go out and do play bogey so the CIC could vector the fighters and everything. I was out about 180 miles from the carrier one night by myself at about 20,000 feet when an object showed up on my left side. And it didn't freak me out. It didn't have any hostile intent. It was just there observing me, and I sort of observed it, and I came away with a very peaceful feeling, and I never said anything to anybody until later in my career with the airlines. I found out a fellow shipmate of mine had a similar incident. I would say maybe 30 feet, a small scout craft, 2-man, 1-man, whatever. Maybe it was an intelligence gathering disc, I don't know. But
it was a disc?
Well, it was saucer shape, yeah, it was saucer shape, from what I could ascertain.
How large?
20, 30 feet in diameter.
How far away from you?
Oh, it was right off my wing. I mean, it was there. I could feel its presence. If anything, it was protecting me. I'm out there alone at night, 180 miles from the carrier by myself, and it can be a little, a little anxious. Of course, this is during the Vietnam War and everything, so you don't know what's going on.
Do you know about the year that this happened?
1964. It was August or September. It just appeared. I mean, I'm there alone, and all of a sudden I'm aware of something, and I look out, and here it is. And after observing it and having this close encounter on whatever level was taking place, then it just sort of disappeared. It dematerialized. Like a black shape in the black night. There were no lights or anything. It was no lights, but there was a form. There was a form. I suppose if there had been lights, it might have created an anxiety which maybe whomever was there didn't want me to experience at the time. I mean, I was, 24 at the time. There were events over the course of my career where I observed classic saucer-shaped, cigar-shaped objects, places over military installations, White Sands, Albuquerque. The subject never came up with air traffic control. In any event, I would never have opened my mouth because they were I think there was a Captain Pete Killian that's written about in some of the UFO books that was a captain with American Airlines back in the 50s that evidently had a sighting and testified before the Senate committees. And then there was another captain that actually took a photograph of one off his wings, and of course they were subject to ridicule and everything, and I didn't want to go that direction, so I never reported anything to FAA or the military. A lot of pilots just didn't want to get involved in this because of peer pressure and ridicule, and the secret has been kept. I happen to have friends from Japan that are very open. The Japanese are very open about this. In fact, I was put in touch with the captain of the JAL 747 freighter that had the close encounter with that huge spherical UFO over Anchorage, Alaska. I think that you mentioned in your talk that the FAA was brought in on, and et cetera, et cetera. And of course, even he succumbed to peer pressure and whatever, and was relegated to a desk job and training in obscurity. I had more sightings in the airlines than I did in the military. I had the one episode, the one encounter over in Vietnam, and that was the only sighting and anything I ever had that I'm aware of. Okay? Most of my other sightings took place either at night. Now, I will mention one sighting that took place in January back in the late 60s. I was flying a night freighter 74 from LA to Kennedy, and it was a crystal clear night. There was a partial moon so you could see, and I was sitting in the right seat, and I saw two lights, red lights, singular non-blinking red lights, like they were flying in formation. I saw them out to my front right, and I watched, and this was about 30 degrees off my horizon, and I'm flying at 37,000 feet, so they're up pretty high. And they went from the eastern horizon to the western horizon in about 3 seconds. That's a pretty, what they were, I have no idea. In 1978, a friend of mine by the name of F. Lee Spiegel, who worked for one of the major radio networks in New York, evidently found out through information he received aboard one of our flights that I was particularly interested in the UFO phenomenon, and I was contacted and asked to be a representative of the airlines at the Symposium for the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space at the United Nations in November of 1978. I have a very personal friend that was a B-24 pilot during World War II that got into OSS. And he was one of the first people into Japan after the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He ended up on Project Blue Book, Section 13, which I believe was the top secret portion of that investigation. At the time, he was a captain in the Air Force. He's in his late 70s now, and he's still being carried on active duty as a captain. I don't know if he's been paid, but if he's on active duty, he should be a 3-star general with time and rank, and he should be paid. And the whole reason that they kept him on active duty was to keep his national security oath active because of what he knew. And there are certain things that he will not talk to me about because of that security oath, even though I had a top secret clearance with the Navy and we're both very interested in the same thing. So I find that very interesting. For whatever reason, the government or those agencies of government deem necessary to protect their agendas, which obviously now aren't our agendas. And based on the information that you gave us here at this symposium, I think it's time for us to act to end this charade and to take whatever steps are necessary to ensure that the human race evolves properly and, can enjoy the fruits of that evolution.